In this video, we are continuing our chapter on percents. And for lesson 3, we're going to focus on the percent proportion. The percent proportion. We have already worked with proportions before. So remember when you had a proportion, you basically had a fraction was equal to another fraction. And then you were able to cross multiply and then divide to come up with an answer. So that's basically what we're going to be doing in this lesson. Our objective today is students will be able to solve problems involving percents by using the percent proportion. The essential questions we have for chapter 2 is how can percent help you understand situations involving money? And then we have lesson 3, which is how can you use the percent proportion to solve real world problems? So our vocabulary today is going to be percent proportion. And basically, this is the setup for a percent proportion. You have the part, also known as is. It's going to be over the whole, which is also known as of. And that is your first fraction. Basically, is over of, and that's going to equal the percent over 100. So remember I said a percent proportion. A proportion is two fractions that are equal to each other. So this is what we're going to be doing. Is over of equals percent over 100, or the part over the whole is equal to the percent over 100. So in my years of teaching, I always just go is over of equals percent over 100. Is over of equals percent over 100. Is over of equals percent over 100. So this will make sense once we start practicing and doing the examples. So right here we do have a little example. It says 4 is 80% of 5. 4 is 80% of 5. So when you are setting up a proportion, you're always going to have a fraction is equal to a fraction. And 100 always goes in this spot. So basically what you have is over of. It's going to be equal to your percent over 100. So the reason why these things are important is because is, of, and percent are going to be common in all these problems. So once you identify what number is your is, what number is your of, what number is your percent, you can fill in the spots and it'll make sense once we start doing it. So I like to start off with my percent first. You should always start off with your percent, and that is going to be the easiest thing to identify. Why is that the easiest thing to identify? Because it has the percent sign. So since I have 80%, that is always going to go over 100. So 80 goes in this spot because it's always a percent over 100. Now, if you look at that, if you look at this, you're going to realize that the percent also has split the numbers. We have 4 is, and we have of 5. So that's why I said is and of are important, because right here you can see 4 is of 5. So that means the is goes on this part. Whatever number is next to your is, it's going to be in the is spot. So 4 is goes there because that's the is spot. And then you can see that what we have here is of 5. So the 5 goes down here because that is your of spot. So is 4 of 5%, 80 over 100. That is how we set it up. Is over of equals percent over 100. So I know I'm going to be repeating is over of equals percent over 100 many times. But the more I repeat it, the more it's going to stick in your head. And that's going to help you with this lesson. Is over of equals percent over 100. Is over of equals percent over 100. So let's do some examples just to make sure you understand the different types of percent proportion. Percent proportion is going to be identifying different parts that are unknown. So we always have 100 here. That's never going to change. You can see 100, 100, 100. That part is always going to be 100. Now what we're going to be missing is we're going to be missing one part of this proportion. So you're either going to be missing the part, the is, you're going to be missing the whole, the of, or you're going to be missing the percent. And this is how they look. When we're finding percent, a question could look like, what percent of 5 is 4? What percent of 5 is 4? So I always like to start off with my percent because percent's the easiest thing to identify. You're looking for a percent sign. If you look at this example, there is no percent sign because that is what is missing. What percent? We're missing that. So whatever part is missing, we're just going to put a variable. The most common variable we use is x. So we're missing the percent. Percent goes over 100, so that means that I'm putting an x there because that is what's missing. Now that you have identified your percent, we can focus on the is. We have the word is here. So this gets a little confusing because sometimes students don't know if the is belongs to the 5 or the is belongs to the 4. However, if you look at the word of, there's only one number that is next to that of, and that number is 5. So that means that of the whole has to be 5. Of goes down here. And then that means that what's left over is 4. And that goes there. So that's how we do it when we're missing the percent. Now, we're also going to be missing the part or the is. So we have what is 80% of 5. Focus on the percent first. That's the easiest thing to identify. You can see, okay, 80%. So 80 has to go over 100 because your percent always goes over 100. Now you realize that has separated two parts. We have of 5 right here. That's the only number next to the word of. So that means that 5 has to go in the of spot, which is down here. Then what we have left over is what is. The word what is next to the word is. That means we're missing the part. We're missing the is. So whatever goes in the is going to be the x because that is what we're looking for. So that's how we set up those type of questions. Then lastly, we're going to be also doing problems where we're missing the whole or we're missing the of. So 4 is 80% of what number? Once again, always start off with your percent. We have 80%. That means 80 goes there. You realize that that has split the problem into two parts. 4 is, that is the is, so that goes up here. And then what's left over is of what? Wrong color. What's left over is the of. So that means that we don't have that part, so that one has to be an x, because that's what's missing. So there you go. That's how we're going to be setting this up. Is over of equals percent over 100. Whatever is missing is going to be represented by the letter x, and that's how we solve these.